Welcome to our house. This is the Screenplay Podcast. I'm your host, Evan Grenis, and with me as always is PGA Tour player Andrew Novak.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Happy to be back. Happy to be back for another week, and let's get talking some football.
Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Screenplay_podcast. New episodes dropping every Wednesday. So, Andrew, you made a pretty long trip this week. Where are you?
I'm in Japan, Chiba, Japan. It's east of Tokyo. It's my first time here, so yeah, definitely a little bit different location for this recording.
Yeah, it's crazy recording a podcast from different sides of the world. It's nighttime
Just
where I am, and it's a different day where you are, and we're recording a
13-hour
podcast.
difference. 7 a.m. Wednesday here.
So I guess maybe our podcast where you are is dropping a different day. But
Yeah.
All right, let's get right into it. Monday night, Dallas beat the Chargers 20-17. This was basically a home game for Dallas. It was 70% Dallas fans out there in LA. So I mean, it's kind of like that a lot for the Chargers. The Cowboys D basically just overwhelmed Herbert. There wasn't a whole lot he could do there last night.
Yeah, they looked a little off. The offense, his timing, his rhythm was off. He didn't get sacked a ton, but I don't know if he was maybe hearing footsteps or what. I don't know if he was worried about taking a hit and falling on his hand with his broken finger. But yeah, something was off yesterday with that offense. They just couldn't get clicking. The first drive, they walked it right down the field and were cooking, and then after that, it was pretty ugly.
Yeah, I mean, Dak played pretty well. 312 yards, 21 for 30, two touchdowns. When he throws it under, 35 times, like the Cowboys look pretty good. And they finally got Brandon Cook work in that game too. Had some targets,
Yeah,
finally got him going. I feel like he's been pretty slow to start the season.
yeah, having a second guy there definitely helps. CD did his thing, but having another guy kind of helps open him up. But yeah, it was interesting to see Dak really looked good running the ball yesterday, which he hasn't looked good uh, running the ball, and I don't know, really since his bad ankle injury. So that was interesting to see if he can kind of open that part of the offense back up. That'll be really big for Dallas going forward.
Yeah, I think they baked that into the play calls a little bit. He was definitely running
Mhm.
the ball on Monday a lot better than he normally is.
Yep.
Still not great execution by the Cowboys, though. 11 penalties, weird stuff at the end of the first half. They really need to tighten some things up here if they want to beat some good teams. I mean, Chargers are good, but they're not a top tier team right now. There's just a
They're
lot
over
of
500.
yeah, a lot of funky stuff going on.
Dallas still can't beat a team over 500.
No, no. Yeah, I mean, they get blown out by the 49ers and they come back and then they beat the Chargers. They're since 2021, they're 10-1 after losses. So they come back well, but they got to learn how to beat these good teams, and they really got to tighten their screws up if they want to do that.
Yeah, you did call this last week. You did put Dallas kind of on the hot seat, saying this is the must-win game of the week, and they did get it done. So props to them for doing that on the road.
Yeah. But with the Chargers, I mean, they got some serious problems here. I mean, Herbert is a great quarterback. He's an A minus quarterback, kind of everything you want in a quarterback. And every year it's the same thing. They're struggling. No team blows more leads, more coverages, more third down and longs than Brandon Staley.
Yeah, they're not well coached. I don't think the defense is a mess. Derwin is probably up there as one of the single most overrated players in the NFL. He's slow. He doesn't cover that well. I mean, he's got some flashy big hits, and he gets all pro every year based on name alone, but he just does not impress me on the football field. So they've got some issues they got to fix on the defense, and they got to get some help going on the offense. I don't know if it's all O-line problems, if there's some play calling issues, if there's some disconnects there, but they really got to get something figured out and soon because they got the Chiefs this week.
Yeah, the Chargers, they spend the most money on defense out of any other team in the league. And the past 3 years, they're ranked 28th or worse. And Brandon Staley is a defensive guy. If you're a head coach and you're either offense or defense, you got to get your side of the ball right. And he cannot get his side of the ball right. And when you're spending the most money, that's just inexcusable. I mean, the coaches matter a ton in this league, and he's not doing a whole lot for Herbert, and he's not doing a whole lot for this team. I mean, when you look at Jared Goff, he was kind of almost considered a bust, and then he got Sean McVay, and he took off. Tua was not doing so hot with Flores. He had an 87 passer rating, and then he got McDaniel and jumped to a 105. And right now we're seeing Herbert and the Chargers just kind of stink it up with Staley. And I think his time with the Chargers is coming real close to an end.
I think the Chargers are in a good position though with having Herbert. Like, there's not many times when you have a head coach vacancy and it looked that appealing. I think it'd be the perfect kind of place to go, you know, try and grab Ben Johnson from the Lions. Be like, hey, look, we've got Justin Herbert here. We've got guys that you can, work with. Uh, Come coach our football team. So yeah, I do think it may need to start looking at moving on, but I don't think it's necessarily like a dire situation. I think a new guy coming in could fix it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, if any year is the year for the Chargers, this is the year. Herbert's still on his rookie deal salary. I mean, next year it goes up a little bit, and then in 2025 it jumps up a massive amount. So if they're not getting it done this year, it's going to be hard to believe that Staley's going to do any better next year. I think they got to get a coaching switch going here, like you're saying. So Thursday night, the Chiefs beat the Broncos 19-8. Russell Wilson played terrible. He had 57 pass yards at one point in the fourth quarter. He was 13 of 22 for 95 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. When it was 13-0, I felt like the game was over. I was like, there is nothing that the Broncos can do to come back here. And when you have a good football team, you're down 10, 13-0, and you're like, okay, like we can still come back and win with the Broncos. I felt nothing about that was comeback possible for them.
No, that offense is terrible. Pretty much as a team, they're a mess. The Chiefs just, kind of shot themselves in the foot, weren't really getting in the end zone, and still they never really looked like they weren't going to win the game. I mean, it just, I don't know. I don't know how much longer the Broncos can keep doing this with Russell. It's bad. It's really bad. He's just not putting up numbers. He's not putting guys in positions to succeed. I don't know if it's all play calls. I don't know if it's all him, but there's something very wrong, and they really need to make a change soon.
Yeah, I mean, his last year in Seattle, he threw 25 touchdowns and 6 picks and had a 106 passer rating. And since he got to Denver, it's just been terrible. And then after the game this week, Sean Payton, he said to the media, "We got to throw the ball better." And he said that 4 times. That's just telling upper management, like, listen, like we got QB issues. We got to get somebody else in here. Saying we got to throw the ball better isn't a direct shot at your quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with that contract, I don't know what they can do.
I know it's a bad contract, but if you hit on a quarterback on a rookie deal, that can fix a lot of problems.
Yeah. I believe Stidham's the backup there. I mean, he's not like he's played football games. He actually had looked decent last year at times, I believe with the Raiders. So I don't know, maybe at some point we see him get a game and see how that goes. But yeah.
Listen, you trade some players like we were talking about last week, get rid of some of the pieces, get some draft picks. You hit on a few defensive players in the draft and you get a good QB that you're paying nothing to, and you can eat some dead cap money and be okay. It's not impossible. It's definitely tough, but they can do that.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's probably the way they're going to have to go because this Russell experiment is just not working.
No. So with the Chiefs, they're winning games, but it's not the prettiest thing in the world. They're not blowing teams out. So they got to look for a piece here before the trade deadline. Is there any players that come to your mind that they could be looking after? Looking through it, like obviously the Broncos players may be up for sale, but I don't think they're going to trade in division for them.
I would, yeah, that's the thing. Like Jerry Jeudy, like Cortland Sutton, like kind of 2 of the bigger wide receiver names. They're in division, so it's kind of unfortunate for them. I think even the Chargers could be shopping for a wide receiver as well, potentially. But
yeah, Quentin Johnson looks
division,
like a complete bust.
Both of them being in division makes it, pretty hard for them to go get one of those Broncos receivers. So I think the Chiefs would have to look, elsewhere. It's going to depend on who's maybe selling, but um, I don't know. Maybe if the Vikings do blow it up, they could go get maybe like a KJ Osborne or something. If they're like, look, Jefferson's not going to be back, we're going to trade Kirk. They're not going to trade Addison, but maybe they trade like a KJ Osborne or something like that. I don't know if that's really considerably better than what they have. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really something they need to do. I think the Chiefs really just need to focus on developing guys like Rashee Rice has looked good at times. I think if they can get him more comfortable with the playbook, get him in, get him rolling, if he can just, be a little bit more of the guy, just maybe make it so you can't just double team Kelsey every single
Yeah,
play.
Kelsey is just
That'll
they're a
probably
little
open
too
up more.
reliant on him right now. That first half, they were just targeting him every single play.
It was working, but that was because it was the Broncos. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do think having just finding one guy somewhere um, would be huge for them.
So we thought the 49ers had a chance at going for an undefeated season. That's out. They lose to the
Mhm.
Browns 19-17. It's their first regular season loss since week 7 of last year. Purdy went 12 for 27 with 125, a touchdown, and a pick. It was a weird game. It was bad weather. It was raining. The refs didn't necessarily ref the game too well. Some bad calls. His main pieces, McCaffrey and Debo, went out.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, people are wanting to pin this on Purdy, but I don't think it was really his fault. I mean, there was just a
I
lot of weird
mean,
stuff going on, and even at the end of the day, they had a chance to win the game.
yeah, missed field goal at the end. They could have won it. I still think that this game pretty much sinks the Purdy MVP chances, or not chances, I guess, but
I don't know
uh,
how real it really was.
CMC McCaffrey MVP is very much intact though. Once he went out, this team couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
He opens up so much for the offense. It is unbelievable. He is people people talk about Tyreek Hill is maybe the best non QB, most impactful in the league. McCaffrey's not that far behind. I mean, what he does for his offense, opening things up, is unbelievable. I mean, you could get him matched up anywhere. He's running wheel routes up the sideline, getting like they're throwing like 40-yard bombs to him up the sideline. I pretty missed on one, but like it's unbelievable how many things you can do with him. So him coming back soon is definitely going to be huge for that team. It does look like that's not too serious
Do you
of an
think
injury that he
Purdy can
picked up.
still sustain wins with some of these weapons out for a week or two, perhaps?
Yeah, yeah, because this defense is good enough, and there are going to be games where they're not going to really have to do a whole lot. I think the Browns played a good game. I don't think the Browns are a bad football team. I was impressed that PJ Walker didn't shoot him in the foot that much. He didn't really turn it over. I've seen him play in Carolina. He is a big fan of making some backbreaking plays at times, but he, for the most part, you know, didn't really turn it over. Didn't make the big mistake, and the Browns played good defensive football, and that helped them win the game. A few lucky breaks went their way, and they got the win.
Yeah, I
So the
mean,
Browns aren't a bad football team, but
no, the Browns are the best defensive team in the league. So really, anyone going against that defense might,
yeah,
struggle compared to their normal
exactly. So
self,
I
especially in
mean,
bad
and
weather like it was.
yeah, and if the 49ers do lose a game or two, what does it matter? I mean, they're still going to make the playoffs. They're still going to be one of the best teams, but
Yeah, I mean, no team's gone undefeated since the 72 Dolphins. So it's been a little while. It's hard to do.
I think they're definitely going to be, focused on make sure their guys are healthy. I don't think they need to like force play McCaffrey or Debo if they're like not 100%. But definitely like you can see the impacts of those guys being out had on the offense.
Yeah. Can the Browns be a playoff contending team? I mean, they have the defense to do
I
it,
think
but I
so.
think the questions are just on the offensive side and whether Deshaun plays or not.
Yeah, I think so. Um, they're just going to have to commit to be, a run first team and kind of try and bully teams with their offensive line and then let the defense work. It's Cleveland, you get some bad weather games up there, especially against, division teams like Pittsburgh and Baltimore. You can get some bad weather games. That's perfect for them. They love that. That's the kind of football they're going to want to play. So I absolutely think the Browns could, get to 10 wins this year. If that gets them in the playoffs, then yeah.
So the other undefeated team, the Eagles, they go down as well. The Jets beat the Eagles 20-14. The Jets force 4 turnovers. Zach Wilson goes 19 of 33 for 186 and a 73 passer rating. He's not doing anything crazy. But the Jets defense is unbelievable. They're 3-0 when they get 3 turnovers, and they're 0-3 when they don't get 3 turnovers. So they are 100% reliant on that D playing well.
Yeah, I feel like the Jets and the Browns are very, very similar football teams
Yeah,
right now. That would actually make a very interesting game if it, kind of came down to that for the
like
wild
a
card
10 to
spot or
7
something.
game.
I mean, it literally would be whichever defense scored more points, I think, because the offenses aren't. But yeah, no, it's Jets played great. Jalen Hurts did not look very good in this game. He was missing some throws, forcing some throws.
Yeah,
Uh,
Jalen Hurts
a
now
lot of good
has
ball.
more picks this season than he did all of last year. They're struggling to get it together with the new coordinators, but they did announce today that Julio Jones is joining the Eagles. I don't really know what that's going to do for them. Seems a little weird. Maybe take some coverages
Yeah,
off
well,
of AJ,
I think
but
Quez Watkins got hurt, so they're down a body
mm,
and they need somebody to stretch the field. I don't know if Julio still has the kind of juice to be a threat stretching the field or not, but we're gonna find out. It's a big name signing, so I don't know. That's exciting, and I don't know. I don't know if he'll play. He might get 4 snaps a game. Who knows? But definitely an interesting signing that they made there.
yeah, I think the Eagles were due for a loss. I mean, they've been kind of toying with the teams they're playing with, just not really putting them out. And I think we all kind of knew they were going to be due for a loss here soon. I don't know if we knew it was to the Jets or not. Um,
Mhm.
can the Jets sustain winning this way? I mean, they're 18 of 72 on third down. It's the worst in the league. Zach Wilson's offensive numbers are all 31st or worse in the league, 60% completion percentage, 182 yards a game average, 73 passer rating. I mean, the defense is obviously great, but can they keep winning this way?
Yeah, I keep seeing like little mini updates on Aaron Rodgers. He's
He's not
starting
coming
to
back. I don't want to hear.
run. He's starting to throw some balls. I think their only hope is that they can just hang around long enough with Zach Wilson to maybe sneak in the playoffs or something, and then hope he comes back. Because you're not winning a Super Bowl with Zach Wilson. You're not winning a Super Bowl with this offense.
No.
Maybe they're just hoping that they can hang on long enough. I, I still think like if they were serious about it, they probably would need a trade for a quarterback. But I think they can win enough games with this defense, and if Zach Wilson just isn't turning the ball over, uh, that they could definitely be a bottom of the barrel kind of playoff contender, try and sneak in that 7th spot.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't think winning that this type of way is sustainable. Can you do it for a little
yeah,
while? Yeah. I mean, I went on a keto diet for a little while. Did it work for a
yeah,
little while? Yeah. At the end of the day, did I eventually need some bread? Yeah. I mean, it will this
yeah.
this is just not sustainable the way they're
I
winning, but
mean,
it can work.
yeah. Jets do get the Patriots twice, which is nice. It's 2 free wins on the season, but yeah, like I don't know. I think it's like, can you win 8 games? Yeah. Can you win 9 games? Yeah, maybe. Can you win 10?
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
like more than that. Like it's just like you're kind of 50-50ing every game because it's just gonna be like a low scoring, just slug it out. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what else you do though as the Jets. Like there's, I mean, you have to try. You have all these, good players on your defense. You went out and got some guys. It just, I don't know. The Aaron Rodgers injury really just set him back so much.
Yeah. So what do the Eagles need to do to figure out these identity issues? I mean, like we said, they got Julio Jones, but um
Yeah,
yeah,
the offense just isn't clicking like it should be. I don't know. Uh, I don't know where it's going wrong. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just losing Steichen. I mean,
I think so.
different OC, and it's not clicking yet. Timing's off. They haven't figured it out yet, and I think they have good enough players. They'll figure something out. I don't know when, but I would assume as the season goes on, hopefully they get some of it cleaned up and they start looking a little bit more like the offense from last year. But yeah, as of right now, Jalen Hurts just does not look as comfortable this year.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Bills versus the Giants. The Bills get a win 14-9. They score all 14 points in the fourth quarter. Josh Allen's first half passer rating was 36 and his second half passer rating was 134. I think we've seen this for the past couple of years where, they are so reliant on Josh Allen just being Superman and running over linebackers and jumping over safeties and pulling off plays where they're like, Josh Allen, go win the game for us. This is just what they've relied on. And do you think they're a little too Josh Allen reliant? I mean, when he doesn't play well, they don't win. You got to be able to
Yeah.
win games when your quarterback doesn't play well.
Yeah, at times I think so. The defense looked good, but the offense just never got anything going. I think it was not one of Ken Dorsey's better games. I thought at times the run was like really working, but then they kind of get away from it.
They got to
I thought there was
establish a better
entirely too
run
much,
game than what they have right now. Take some
and it was
pressure off of
working.
Josh.
There's entirely too much Latavius Murray, right? Like it's so weird. Like they're split. Like James Cook would be like doing good things, and all of a sudden Latavius Murray would come in. Like it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. Um, it's I don't know. It was kind of weird. I think at one point I looked and they had thrown like their first 17 plays, they'd thrown it like 14 times, but the runs were like working. I don't know. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. It seemed like in the second half when they started running the ball more consistently, they really were just kind of leaning on the Giants. And then it opened up some passing as well. But they just you can't like play three bad quarters of offense against good teams and still expect to win the game. Like they got the win this week because it was the Giants
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Giants
Yeah.
aren't very good, but I mean, it was definitely not a very good performance by them, but I think you'll see better games called in the future. And then I think Josh just wasn't playing well. I don't know if his shoulder got dinged up a bit on that one throw earlier on, and that was, causing him to be hesitant, but um, I don't think that'll be the Josh Allen we see.
How long do you think the Super Bowl window for the Bills is? Because it's been a couple of years now where we think that the Bills have a chance to win a Super Bowl, but I'm feeling like I'm getting kind of a similar feeling to like Cam in Carolina, where like we thought they had a Super Bowl window for
Yeah,
maybe 4 or 5 years, but again, they were reliant on Cam being Superman every single week. And that's just, again, it's not sustainable for a long period of time. Like you're going to get hurt, you're going to get run down. If
yeah,
they keep playing this way, like their Super Bowl window is, gonna come to a close here. They gotta,
yeah.
establish a
I
better
don't
run game,
disagree.
get
I
Allen
do
some
think
better weapons, get a better O line.
I do think they're towards the back half with this crew. Like Allen's young enough, like he hasn't had major injuries or anything yet. Like I do think you could like reload. Maybe if it doesn't work out this year, maybe Diggs would go somewhere else. Like there was, rumors of that earlier on. Maybe you try and like kind of revamp the defense a bit because you got some older players. Like I mean, Tre'Davious White's been there forever, but now he's season-ending injury this year.
Yep.
Like he might be done. So I don't know, like you might have to kind of do like a reload and then have like a new window open up like 2-3 years from now. Now Josh Allen probably he wouldn't be the same Josh Allen now, but
No, maybe like a
maybe
different
he's more
style
like
of Josh
yeah,
Allen. Yeah.
a little bit, more of just like a true passer because like how much longer can you keep doing that? But yeah, as far as this core, because they've had this core for
I want to say like
a few
5 or
years
6 years
now.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and they've brought in guys like a Von Miller and brought in
Right.
guys like that to like help with this squad. But I do think this window for this core is this year, maybe next year, but this kind of does feel like this could be the last year for this group. So
Yeah, I agree. The Raiders beat the Patriots 21-17.
never in doubt,
Raiders
baby.
get a safety there at the end to cover the spread.
Never in
I
doubt.
know you took the Raiders there at -3. You were probably pretty happy with that.
Yeah, they it's kind of an ugly game. Jimmy G getting hurt.
Yeah, I
Hoyer
think
actually didn't.
he's a questionable for next week now.
Hoyer actually didn't even look that bad when he came in, though. He was doing some good things. Jacoby Myers' revenge game was great, but I don't know. It was kind of an ugly game. I was in Vegas for it. There was like I barely even saw any like Raiders fans walking around. It was kind of weird. A ton of Patriots fans walking around in Vegas, but um, I don't know. It's two not very good teams, kind of ugly game, and yeah, you know Patriots just have not been playing winning football lately. We kind of talked about this.
Yeah, their team is just they don't have the dudes. Well, like we talked about earlier, like they drafted two kickers, three guards for a team that was already slow. It was almost a joke of a draft. They have no number one wide receiver. They re-signed Devontae Parker, who can't separate. They went and bought Juju, who can't separate. They got rid of Jacoby Myers, who was kind of the only piece on the offense that actually worked.
Mm.
They have 5 picks in the last 3 games. I mean, their offense is terrible. Like their points per game, 12. That's 31st in the league. Like ugh, big plays, 18 on the year. That's 31st in the
Mhm.
league. Yards per play, 4.5. That's 29th in the league. They're terrible. Um, if they can't, you got to, if they can't be bad enough to get Drake May or Caleb Williams this coming draft, like you got to get some pieces. You got to give Max some help. You got to do something. I mean, I know Max playing
Right.
terrible, but there is nobody open on any of these plays either.
Yeah, I would love to see a little like they just need like some juice in the offense or something. I There's been discussions about Cunningham getting some work, and
I heard that. Yeah,
even if it's not the entire game, getting him in there a bit, just like for a spark. Like you need playmakers somewhere, and
he played a
I
little
mean, if it's
preseason, looked good, but he's small.
yeah,
But I mean, he might be able to run around and give them something.
even if it just is a glorified Wildcat package for him, I don't care. Just something to like when you line them up in Foxborough, like the fans are like, "Oh, like let's go!" Like we might have a good play here. Like there's no excitement with this offense. There's nothing that's like there's nothing you feel like, "Oh, this could be a good play. This could be." There's nobody to throw to. There's nobody open deep. There's nothing. It's just you're hoping you can kind of just lean on teams and
It
kind
almost
of
feels like they're trying to tank with how
crawl your
they're
way down.
playing and the
Yeah,
players they're putting out there. Um, I don't know if they are, but it sure feels that way.
yeah. They have not looked good. Um, they're in a tough division. It's going to be a long year for the Patriots, and I don't know. I'd love to see a little more excitement on that offense.
So the Lions beat the Bucks 20-6. They held Tampa to 250 yards total for the game. They lost Montgomery. He's going to be out for a few weeks. The Lions look really good. I thought this was one of their best defensive performances they put on this year. They've held every team to under 100 rush yards in every single game. Do you think the Lions can get the number one seed in the NFC?
I think for the Lions to do that, I think you'd have to have like the McCaffrey injury maybe be like a multi-week thing or something like that. I still think it's probably San Fran, but the Lions absolutely could, be the two. Like I could see them out having a better record than the Eagles. They played better than the
Yeah,
Eagles.
absolutely. I
I
mean,
feel like,
I'm looking through their roster, and at this point, I kind of feel like the Lions have a top five roster in the league. They have
yeah,
weapons, they have O line, they have a pass rush.
that
They
D
built it
line
through
is
the
no joke.
draft.
Yeah.
I mean, this roster is good, kind of all the way
Hmm.
through.
Yeah. No real holes as long as they stay healthy. I love what they're doing. So I think um I don't know. I think Jameson Williams getting back like opens things up too underneath. Hopefully Montgomery's injury isn't too long term, but yeah, they have exciting players, with Jameer Gibbs and Amon Ra, and I don't know. I feel like they have so many different ways they can beat you. They can beat you with the pass rush. They can beat you with the defense. They can beat you, throwing the ball. They can do what they did to the Panthers and just run it down their throat the whole game. Like basically, it's they can just do everything well, and nothing poorly, and it's just kind of a scary team to play against.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on to the next game. Dolphins beat the Panthers 42-21. Tua has 3 touchdowns. This is we both took this game this week. We saw 13.5 and we thought it was over before it started. This is kind of opposite of what the Broncos and Chiefs were. Like the Broncos were down 13-0 and we felt like it was over for them. I watched the Dolphins go down 14-0 to the Panthers, and I never lost confidence that they weren't going to cover the spread.
I knew that. Yeah,
I was like, oh,
I
they're down
said, I
14
don't know.
nothing. They'll probably win. They'll probably put up 40 points still.
I don't know if I said it on the podcast or not, but I mean, I talked to some of my buddies, and I was like, I thought the Dolphins were going to have 35 by halftime. I thought the final score was going to be 45-21 Dolphins, with the Panthers scoring a couple late. The Panthers scored their couple early, but then the Dolphins still just boat raced them and ran right out, and it still ended up basically being the same thing. So yeah, it's I don't know. The Dolphins offense, you just can't really stop it unless I don't know. The Bills did it, but these bad teams just you keep
You
giving
got to
them the
almost
ball. Like,
outscore them. I mean,
yeah, you can't if you keep giving them the ball. Like the Panthers, they go 3 and out, give them the ball, defense back on the field, and boom, 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 down the field, and they score again. Like you really have not seen any NFL teams with an offense like this in a long time, and
no,
I mean, I'm really excited to see.
they have the most yards per game, best ever right now at 498 yards per game. But I do want to say Miami's wins have been against some pretty bad teams.
Yeah,
The teams they've played are a combined 4-22. So
yeah,
I mean, other than the Bills that they've played some pretty
mhm.
crappy teams, and their schedule does toughen up here a little bit. Next week they're
Yeah. They got
playing
the Eagles this
Philly.
week.
Yeah, next week they're playing Philly. Then they got the Patriots, and then they are playing the Chiefs. So
Hmm.
we're gonna see how that offense holds up over the next couple of weeks against some better teams than what they've been playing.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, next week playing Philly, like they're not going to put up 40 on the Eagles. You wouldn't think
Philly's got some secondary issues right now, though.
they do. Yeah.
Obviously, Jets did not take advantage of it because
No, the Philly doesn't have the best D. Their defense is allowing a passer rating of 95 against them for the year. So they are giving up some yards and some plays, but it's better than what they've been playing against.
right.
What do you think you need to see out of the Dolphins over the next couple of weeks to feel like they can succeed in the playoffs? I mean, they're good now in the fall when it's warm out and they're playing fast, but you put them in
I want to
January in
see
25 degrees against some good teams.
they gave up 48 against the Bills, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see what their defense does against Philly and then Kansas City. Because bottom line, like their offense is good. Like nobody's debating that. But like if your defense can't stop the good teams, you're not going to win a Super Bowl. You're not going to win in the playoffs. So I want to see how that defense handles those two matchups.
Yeah, I agree. Texans defeat the Saints 20-13. Um, Not what you thought was going to happen. You took the Saints here.
No, the yeah, Texans. I mean, they look good. It was a little bit different game than what I was thinking. I thought they moved the ball better. The Texans actually ran the ball a little bit more effectively than I expected them to.
They haven't been
Devin
running the ball
Singletary got
much this year, but they've
Singletary got a lot more burn and looked pretty effective doing it. Um, and yeah, the Saints just couldn't really score. The Texans defense is, I mean, played good at times. So yeah,
I think Derek Carr might be a little more of a. I think people thought he was better than he is. I don't know if he's good
yeah,
enough to bring the Saints to the playoffs and to win playoff games with them. I mean, they have weapons. They have Kamara. They have great wide receivers. They have a great O line.
mm,
And 5 games this year, they have scored 20 points or less. I think this is kind of on Carr.
yeah. He's, I mean, he's definitely been a little bit disappointing. I don't know. I still think the Saints team probably wins that division. Like from what I've seen from all the teams in that division, like I think they look like the most complete team. Their defense is pretty solid. Carr's at least proven that he can be good. Um, but yeah, this was probably a game that the Saints feel like they should have won.
Do you think the Texans can make the playoffs? They've been a surprise team this year. CJ Stroud's playing well. The Jags lead their division at 4-2 in the AFC South. So I think people kind of have a feeling that the Jags are going to win that division, but do you think the Texans can maybe get like a wild card spot?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the AFCs, you got probably Bills and Dolphins are coming out of that division. So that's whoever wins that, the other one's taking a wild card for sure. Uh, the Chargers would have been like a threat, but they've started terribly, and the
The
Raiders and
Chiefs are going to
Broncos. So
get
you
in,
pretty much
obviously.
so you have the Chiefs from there, but probably no wild card there. So then it basically comes down to the NFC North, and if they cannibalize enough, um, I think the Bengals are starting to play better
The
football, and the
Bengals, you got
Ravens are
them there
there.
looking at a wild card
And
spot, maybe. But yeah, I think
we've
the
talked about the
Texans
Browns.
could
Like
sneak in there.
I don't think it's crazy to say that the Texans could be like it literally could come down to like Jets, Browns, Texans for like that seventh spot sort of thing. And
Yeah.
maybe like the I don't know. I guess if the Ravens like lose some games and the Bengals end up passing, I don't know. But I guess probably the Bengals and the Ravens, like one of those teams would probably be the wild card then. But so that would be the sixth, and then yeah, so it could be like kind of down to those other three teams as like the seventh spot in the AFC, and I think the Texans just kind of look better than the other two teams, but I think the other two teams' defenses are good enough that they can still win some games. So I don't know. I,
We'll have to see a little more, but they're definitely in that area for potentially getting a wild card the way they're playing right now.
I absolutely. I think CJ Stroud's playing good football. I think that team is playing, to win games. Their defense has played well in games. Their offense has played well in games, and they're a young team. And I think as the season goes, I would pick them to kind of be a team that would get better as the season goes along. So I actually do thinking about it even more. I do think they're a very realistic candidate for that seventh seed.
Yeah. All right. We went through the games. Let's get into our power rankings after week 6. At number 10, we got the Cowboys. When Dak targets CeeDee Lamb, he has 81% completion percentage. They are 10-1 following losses since 2021. Brandon Cooks is starting to show up. They still are the most penalized team in the league, and they just need to tighten things up a little bit. At 9, we got the Bengals. Didn't play great this week. They were outplayed, but even when they're getting outplayed, they're starting to win games now. They've won 3 of the last 4 heading into a bye. They're going to get healthy. When they target Jamar Chase 10 or more times, they don't lose. At 8, we got Baltimore. Only have allowed 6 touchdowns all year. Number 1 scoring D. And Lamar is playing really, really good football. At 7, we got the Jags. Their defense leads the NFL in takeaways. They have a 3-game winning streak, but Lawrence does have a little knee issue right now, and we're not sure if he's going to play that week, this coming week. So 7 is Jags. 6, we got Buffalo. They're not buttoned up. They're a little shaky, that's for sure. But Josh Allen has cleaned up his red zone troubles, and their defense leads the NFL in sacks. At 5, we got Miami, number 1 scoring offense, number 1 passing offense. They have played the easiest schedule this year so far, though. At 4, we got Philly. Their third down offense is great. The tush push, is unstoppable. Their defense is a little shaky. And Hurts does have as many picks this year as he did all of last year, but they're still 5-1, and they got a solid roster. Philly at 4. At 3, we got the Lions, 7-1 in the last 8 games. They have the best O-line. They're 3-0 on the road. They have the 3rd easiest schedule remaining, and they've held every team to under 100 rush yards all year. At 2, we got Kansas City, 5-0 since Kelsey and Jones have returned. Their D has allowed 21 points or less in every game, and they still need to find someone to help out on the offense with a wide receiver. And at 1, 49ers coming off of a loss, still the best team out there. They trailed for the first time this season. If it wasn't for a missed 41-yard field goal, they'd still be undefeated. They really have no holes or missing pieces in this team. Let's get into fantasy. Uh, who were your booms this week? Who really stood out to you?
Yeah, this was a weird week of fantasy. Um,
I thought the big name
some
players
really
kind of stood out. The ones that
really
should have played
low,
well
yeah,
did.
just low point totals in general, kind of
Hmm.
historically low.
Yeah, throughout
Honestly,
our league, I mean, no one really went off. A lot of
um,
low scoring weeks
yeah.
out there for sure.
As far as booms though, Raheem Mostert, um, with no HN, I mean, he's the guy, and playing the Panthers, they just rolled him.
Yeah, 34 points, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns, and he's been a touchdown machine. He's up to double-digit touchdowns on the season, which is
He's had a
just
couple games where he
ridiculous.
just gets 3 or 4 touchdowns, and
Yeah, um, definitely been a very high ceiling player, but with nobody else playing, with no HN, no other running backs really on the team that are getting work. He's a high floor guy too. I mean, absolutely been a league winner so far, and very very impressive.
yeah, we talked about this last week, but Thielen, 28 points, 11 catches, and a touchdown in their loss to the Dolphins.
I got
Like you
Amon
said, he
Ra.
might have the most catches by the end of the year. I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
he's
he's
creeping up there.
with the Panthers playing from behind every week. I mean, they were ahead for like a quarter, but yeah, it's just getting fed the ball um, from Bryce Young. You get a veteran wide receiver with a rookie quarterback. I mean, it's perfect little combo, and there's nobody else for him to really throw the ball to. And Thielen's been open, and he's getting a ton of work.
Yeah. Justin Tucker, 18 points, 6 for 6 on field goals. That's a
Yeah,
boom.
it's one of those weeks when we're shouting out kickers for being booms. uh,
Cooper Kupp had 7 catches and a touchdown,
yeah.
28 points.
Amon
Tyreek,
Ra had a huge game this week too.
yeah,
I think 12 and, for 120 and touchdown. So
yeah,
big week
Tyreek
there.
Hill, 28 points. A lot of
So
just big
your
name players who
2000,
you expected to do well did well, but
yeah,
yeah, not
your
not, not
2,000 yard call is looking good with Tyreek, man.
yeah, no one really went crazy this week for a 50
No,
burger or anything, but
just
a lot of
not a ton of big quarterback numbers. So
no.
limited everyone.
All right, who did not play well? Who busted this week?
Uh, go ahead.
I'll start off with Devonte Adams. They won over the Patriots, but he had 5 points, 2 catches. You kind of expect Devonte to get more more targets and more catches than what he got this past week. We'll go Debo Samuel, 1 point. He was injured. That took him out of it.
Yeah, same. Uh, okay, so yeah, I mean, I was expecting some bigger weeks for some guys, and the guys that did boom, I mean, did well, but uh, all right, you're probably gonna have to cut some of this.
I'll go into a few more here. Logan Thomas, tight end, 1 point, 1 catch, coming off of a big week, did not perform this week. Uh, D Hop, 3 points, 1 catch. Damian Pierce, 3 points, 34 yards. I don't think you can start Damian Pierce at this point. He is not putting up numbers. I've been on the Gabe Davis train for the past couple of weeks. This week was a massive letdown. 3 points, 3 catches.
Yeah, that whole Bills team kind of struggled. Diggs had a pretty good game, but outside that, James Cook got a few. He got some yards, but no catches, no pass game work. Um, not a very pretty game from them against the Giants.
Yeah. Anyone else that kind of bust to you or
Yeah, I'll throw Puka in there for disappointment. Cooper Cup was kind of the big star in the game there, and this is kind of something that people might have been worried about with Cooper Cup coming back. It didn't really happen last week. Puka still had a great game.
right?
This week he only had 4 for 20-something yards. So I know he had a good look at a touchdown in the game, which would have kind of saved the game for him. But didn't convert there, and that's by far his worst week of the season. So throw him on the bus list.
Yeah. All right. So looking ahead to the next week, uh, who are we starting next week? If you got them, you should start them.
All right, so we are getting running backs in the lineup against the Arizona Cardinals. Kenneth Walker, big week ahead for him. Home game. I would think you're looking at, you could see maybe 100 yards, couple touchdowns. Definitely a big boom spot for him. Also, I'm loving wide receiver against the Indianapolis secondary. So Amari Cooper, even with no Deshaun Watson, still got some pretty good work from PJ. So regardless of the quarterback, I actually do like him in this spot at Indy this week. There is some questions about Chicago with some injuries. Don't know if Fields is going to be playing quarterback. Even if he's not, Vegas, you can kind of get the running backs in the lineup against. And if Roshan's back healthy, I think he sees a lot of work. So I actually do like Roshan if he's kind of the guy for the Bears this week, in a pretty good spot there. We're getting all of our Packers players in. They're playing the Broncos this week, so you know the drill. Play them. I've got Isaiah Pacheco playing against the Chargers. Chargers run defense still not very good. Pacheco's been getting some great work lately. I would be surprised if he didn't get in the end zone this week and put up some pretty good yards for the Chiefs. And then I am also going to pick on the Eagles secondary a little bit. I think we talked about this Miami Philly game. I'm liking both Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. I think they're going to have to throw the ball. I think the Eagles are going to score some points. So it's not just going to be completely the running back show, the Mostert show this week. I think Tyreek and Jalen Waddle both have pretty good matchups.
Yeah. Week 6 stardom. I got, Saquon came back. He started off a little slow last week, but then picked it up a little bit. If you got him, start him against Washington. And I got a couple of Washington players here. I like Terry McLaurin versus Giants and Curtis Samuel versus Giants. Curtis Samuel has 2 touchdowns the last 2 games. I would get him in there.
Curtis is very sneaky.
Yeah. Jordan Love. He's playing Denver, so I like getting him in there this coming week if you have him. Like you said, Chicago. I got Cole Kmet versus Vegas D. Should have a pretty good game. And Zay Flowers, who might be a questionable starter for you or not, I would get him in there against Detroit. Teams have a tough time running the ball, so they're going to have to throw it to him a good bit.
Yeah, I love your Cole Kmet call, especially if Fields is out. You got a first-time starter in there. I'm assuming it'll be Bajan. And
Yep.
Yeah, love the tight end for a new guy, just kind of security blanket.
Right. So let's move over to the sit-em side. Who should you sit this week?
I do not like any of the Patriots running backs against the Bills.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
they're gonna, get down early. They're gonna have to throw the ball. You might be able to get there off receiving volume, but that's just kind of a dice roll.
Yeah, I got Stevenson on the bench this week. I don't have him, but I do have sit him if you got him.
Yeah. I've got Rashad White as a sit versus Atlanta. He's playing against the Falcons team that has been very stingy to running backs this year. And he just lost quite a bit of work last week to Keyshawn Vaughn. So I don't like this spot for him. And I would like to see his usage go back up to where it was before I feel good about starting him going forward. And then as my third sit, I have Alexander Madison playing against San Fran.
I agree.
Obviously, the San Fran defense is no joke. Again, he might get there off some passing volume if he catches a couple balls. PPR league, he might still, give you something, but it's not a great spot for him.
No. I have Justice Hill versus Detroit D. Detroit is not allowing much run. Can't start him. If you got Matt Stafford as a QB versus Pitt D, I don't like that. I would keep him on the bench. Any Denver wide receivers versus Green Bay, Jerry Jeudy, Sutton. If you can afford to sit him, I'd sit him. Indianapolis Colts, if Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss versus Cleveland D. I know if you have JT or Zach Moss, you might need to play them with what you got right now, but I don't see big weeks out of them this week. We've been saying this. Najee Harris is unstartable. Just not getting enough points. And then with James Conner out, you might be looking at Ingram or DeMercado versus Seattle. I don't think either one of them are getting enough points or enough volume, especially with the Cardinals
Yeah,
probably going to be down to play them. You're probably looking at
yeah,
under 10 points on both of them. So I don't
yeah.
think as
Damian Williams came in and even got some carries. That's a three-headed backfield you want no part of right now. Yeah.
exactly. All right, let's get into the lines for the week. So starting off on Thursday night, we got Jags at Saints. Saints are favored by 1. On Sunday, we got no London games this week. So back to some normal times. Sunday, Falcons at Bucks. Bucks are 2.5-point favorites. Raiders at Bears. Bears are getting 3. Browns at Colts. Colts are getting 2. Lions at Ravens. Ravens are favored by 3. Bills at Pats. Pats are getting 8.5. Commanders at Giants. Giants are getting 2. Cardinals at Seahawks. Seahawks are favored by 8. Steelers at Rams. Rams are favored by 3. Chargers at Chiefs. Chiefs are favored by 5.5. Dolphins at Eagles. Eagles are favored by 2. 49ers at Vikings. Vikings are getting 7 points. So last week we both went 2-1. You and I both took Dolphins 13.5 and hit. You took the Saints -1.5, which missed, and you took the Raiders at -3, which hit. I took the 49ers at -6, which missed, and the Lions at -3, which hit. That leaves Andrew at 6-4 on the year and me at 14-8. We are giving out some winners on this podcast. So when you hear them, lock them in. What are your 3 bets of the week?
I'm starting off. I've got the Lions +3 at Baltimore. I think the Lions are clear top 3 team in the league right now, and they're getting points. I know Baltimore's a pretty solid team, and it's on the road, but I like the Lions there. I'm taking the Rams -3 home against the Steelers. Feel really good if that one was -2.5, but I'm still going to roll with the Rams. I think they win that game. Pittsburgh's not very good. And then I've got the Packers -1 at Denver. Just Denver's been bad. I know it's in Denver, but that's a pretty low line. I think the Packers win that game and pretty comfortably.
All right. I have the Bills -8.5 against the Patriots. I don't think the Patriots can put up enough points to cover that. I've got the Browns -2 at the Colts. And I have the Chargers +5.5 at the Chiefs. Lock them in.
Wow.
All right.
Charger.
Yeah,
Really?
coming off of a loss there, they put up points, and I don't think that the Chiefs are putting up enough
Okay.
points to
To really pull away?
pull away.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see.
All right. That concludes our podcast. Episodes dropping every Wednesday.
Hold on. What's your must-win game of the week?
Most
You
must-win
got,
game
you
of
got
the
one?
week.
I've got one. I know I bet it,
Let's
but
hear it. Let's hear it.
The Packers to keep up with the playoff race in the NFC. I think the Packers have to win that game against the Broncos. You cannot lose a game against the Broncos and expect to be, a playoff contender. So I think this is very much make it or break it week for the Packers.
I like it. My most win game of the week. I Chargers. If they don't
Yeah,
beat the
yeah,
Chiefs here, then they're falling
They're
behind
so
quick,
far
and
behind. Yeah,
they're so far
that was
behind, and
another
I
one.
don't know if they're making the playoffs. So I do like the Chargers in the most
I
win game of
looked
the
at that.
week.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for reminding me there. All right, now that concludes our screenplay podcast this week. New episodes drop in every Wednesday. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at screenplay_podcast. Drop some likes, drop some comments, let us know what you think, and appreciate it. Good luck to Andrew this week in Japan.
Appreciate it. See y'all.